Hi everyone, this is Dr. Catherine Kelly. And what I'm going to be talking about today is actually a continuation of what we talked about on the last video, but a little bit of an offshoot as well. So the last video I did had to do with the fact that evolution sucks, that basically as we consciously grow, as we consciously evolve, it not only is difficult and challenging, but that it's exhausting as well. So my whole joke of wanting a bumper sticker that says evolution sucks, and I often say I'm going to, make my millions doing that because many people can resonate with that. It's a joke, but it's a reality. And so in that video, I talked about what I call the hazards of therapy or the hazards of conscious evolution. And I mentioned only the first one, but I thought, it might be helpful for folks to understand, in my mind, what the other hazards are. And so over the 20 whatever years of me doing some sort of mental health work, I think it's 26 years now, I've kind of come up with this system of kind of the hazards of therapy or the hazards of conscious evolution. And they seem to fit. I talk about this a lot with clients and workshop participants and friends, and they all seem to get it. So the first one, as a reminder from the last video, is that the more we grow and learn and evolve, the more we want to grow, learn, and evolve. So even though that's a wonderful blessing and we look forward to that evolution and growing, it also takes a lot of work and it's exhausting. So there's a positive side and a not so positive side to it. Okay, so number two is that as we learn and grow and evolve, the second one is then we start to recognize the people around us who aren't learning and growing and evolving. So we become more conscious of those who are evolving and those who are not. So it's just almost an essence or an energy or maybe even an intensity at times of people who are learning and growing and evolving. You kind of start to recognize those folks. The third hazard is that then, after wanting to learn and grow and after starting to recognize the people that are learning to grow and those who aren't, you kind of start getting a little annoyed or irritated with the folks that aren't learning and growing and evolving. Partially because you know how much better it feels to be moving forward, and everybody wants to move forward and evolve, but not everybody wants to do the work to move forward and evolve. And so it's that whole idea of, you get a little irritated with it. So the fourth hazard is that then you start to distance yourself somewhat from those folks because you don't resonate anymore. You can't join in the conversations about your growth as much because the others aren't growing and evolving. You might find your other tribe that is learning and growing and evolving, but that you start to separate out a bit from the folks who aren't. And that can cause a lot of grief and sadness and loss and arguments and all kinds of other stuff. And I talk about this with clients often because it is very rare and unusual to be able to find two people who grow and learn and evolve at the same pace, or at least in the same direction. Oftentimes we diverge and we go in different directions, and that's what causes a lot of friendships to break up, or a lot of family members to kind of go in different directions and distance themselves. So it can get very challenging. So you've got that whole point where at some point you start to disengage from the people who aren't really growing in the same direction or at the same pace. Number 5 is then you kind of isolate yourself a little bit. Again, it feels better to be on your own than to be engaging with folks who don't get where you're coming from, excuse me, or where you're evolving to or where you've evolved from. And so you kind of get a little isolated or insulated even. Insulated is probably even a better word because you kind of have to pull back and cocoon for a while in order to find more about yourself and also find what works and what doesn't. And to me, that's all about soul health, is that when we start to do that internal assessment, it helps us understand, again, what and who we need to be around and what actually takes away from our growth and evolution. So that number 5 might cause a little isolation to the point where you kind of wonder, gosh, is there anybody else like me? It might make you feel like there's something wrong with you. It might make you feel like, again, you're the only one on the planet that is going through this stuff. So then we start going through the process of the 6th hazard is then you start striking out to see where you can find people. But because people who are evolving, learning, and growing oftentimes are kind of doing their thing on their own, A lot of times it's hard to find them because it's like the needle in the haystack, but they're out there. And it's just a matter of people being in the same place to want to connect and feel like, okay, I can resonate and I can feel safe with this person. And then you go through this whole other system of evolutionary steps and, again, hazards per se. But it's all about becoming more conscious. And so it does take a lot of work. And at some point, I'm going to share the other hazards of therapy. But I wanted to get this started for you because for those of you who are kind of pulling back from people in your life as you learn more about yourself, or are kind of getting irritated with folks as you learn more about yourself, it's all very natural and normal and healthy, even though it's uncomfortable. So again, that goes back to why evolution sucks, because sometimes as we grow, we have to leave situations or people or whatever behind, parts of ourselves behind that just don't fit anymore. So although, again, evolution is the most beautiful, wonderful thing, it's also one of the most challenging, difficult, exhausting things. And I just wanted to give you a taste of these hazards of therapy and hazards of conscious evolution, because I think a lot of you who are choosing to grow and evolve will realize, whoa, yeah, that I am experiencing this. And I think Emmy's doing a little photobomb in the back. But I think the thing to remember with this is that you can choose. You can choose your evolution. You can choose if you keep moving forward. And you can also choose to pull back and decide, do you want to engage in more evolution? Because it is that whole idea that, chances are you're going to outgrow some of your old patterns, some of your old thoughts, some old people, some old trends, whatever it is that you need to evolve beyond. So it's all normal, it's all natural, it's all part of conscious evolution. It just happens to be a very difficult time. At times. And, I mentioned last time in the video that, trees go through so much as they evolve into each season, which is how they create the rings in their trunks. I never liked the idea of splicing a tree and looking at the tree rings, because to me that's painful. It causes pain to the trees. But if you look at the rings of a tree, the thicker rings are the ones of evolution, the ones of growth, whereas the little teeny tiny rings are the ones where the trees have pulled back and there hasn't been a whole lot of growth. So we need both. But either way, it takes a ton of energy to keep that evolutionary process going. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you can resonate with this. I would love to hear your comments and kind of hear what your own evolutionary process has been like in general. So you can go to my website at www.drcatherineTkelly.com, and the left-hand side are all of my social media icons where you can touch base with me on Facebook, or also connect with me via email. You can leave a message on this blog, but basically everything I do is to help you learn more how to align with spirit for radiant living, so that not only is your human part of you in this existence of life healthy, but that your soul becomes healthier and healthier and healthier. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a fantastic